All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Business Blast podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Wagner. As always, today's sponsor is Authors Unite. And if you want to become a successful author, Authors Unite is the place to go. So head on over to authorsunite.com to check out a free case study that'll teach you how to do exactly that. And now let's jump into the episode. All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Business Blast podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Wagner. Today, I have Chris Spurvey with us. He is a best-selling author and the founder of Chris Spurvey Sales Growth Consulting, Inc., where he helps business leaders become confident and effective sellers. So welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. I'm really grateful you have taken the time to invited me.
Of course. Grateful to have you on. So Chris, we go deep pretty quick on this show. The first one I got for you is, what is the best story from your life that has an underlying valuable message?
That is pretty deep, pretty quick. Yeah, I thought about many different ways I could go with this, but I decided to focus on what ultimately is my core competency, and that's sales. Back in 1997, 1998, I decided to make a major career shift and went from marketing into sales without any real experience in it. And I became a manager of business development for a professional services company. And anyway, to make a long story short, I fell flat on my face because I approached sales in the way I thought sales was supposed to be, the stereotypical in your face, get out there, shake hands, and try your hardest to make deals move themselves forward. And really struggled for a couple of years. It led to a financial reset in my life, AKA bankruptcy, and decided at that point in time it was something I needed to figure out, right? And so I started to read some good books on what sales actually is, and I just reframed sales from being that pushy, in-your-face type of person that I thought you had to be being problem-solving, curiosity, being of service to your prospective customers, and so on. And things really took off for me from there, and I was able to make multiple quantum leaps in my life, so to speak, as a result of me embracing my own inner unique ability to sell, just like everyone listening has as well. So I thought I would focus on that. I have many stories, as I'm sure everyone listening does. With stories are ultimately what make us, but I thought I would focus on sales.
Absolutely, man. Dude, that's awesome too. And I think I really like what you said there, where it's like we all have our own unique kind of style. So I think there is like sales tactics and all that stuff, and I think they can definitely work. But at the end of the day, at least for myself, what I found to work best is just being me. Like I'm just like really myself when I talk to someone. If I can help them, I present it. If I can't, then I point them in another direction. And that's, that works. So if you're just yourself, that tends to work.
Yeah. Bill, the great late Bill Gove, he used to say, he was a major speaker. He used to say, if I'm going to be free, I've got to be me. And I guess that's what ultimately it came down to for me when I found myself and began to apply myself, my inner self, to what I was doing. Things started to flow.
Mm-hmm. So next one is, what's the most valuable piece of information we should know that's within your expertise or industry?
Yeah, it's a pretty easy one for me. And I believe, and I have not been proven otherwise, that all revenue in all businesses grows through relationships. And relationships are our most important assets, and nothing flows in business. So whether it's trying to attract your next great hire, trying to attract an investor, or getting out there and meeting human to human contact with a prospect, everything flows through building straight lined win-win relationships. And we need to treat our relationships like gold.
And and I think it ties into the next one. What's your best piece of overall business advice? So not necessarily.
It does, exactly. Treat your allies like gold. And be the hub of your network. You and I spoke just before we hit record about a mutual acquaintance who is very big on creating those genuine one-on-one relationships, and we need to be very proactive around that, and we can all surround ourselves with 4 or 5 really good allies, and who look out for you and you look out for them, and strike that win-win relationship. And I really believe from 4 or 5 close allies, you can make anything happen in your life.
Yeah. And if you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that be?
It would be that the secret to success is self-motivation. We need to be self-motivated. And what does that look like? It's enthusiasm, creativity, it's persistence, and all those great words. That's what self-motivation is. And I have proven to myself that the only way to find that self-motivation that's sustainable is to have a vision for my life that's compelling, that I'm excited about, that wakes me up every morning and puts me out there beating the streets and having some fun. And so vision creates self-motivation would be ultimately what I wish I had known when I was young, because I would have created a more compelling vision for my life.
And then kind of going a little bit down a different path, in your opinion, what's the key to happiness?
The key to happiness from my perspective is defining success based on what you want and what I want. I'm speaking to myself or I'm speaking to you. Define success based on what you want in life and not what others believe success is. I grew up in an environment where I have phenomenal parents. However, somewhere along the way, I was told that a definition of success is to be a doctor, and you had to be a certain thing. Really, what I've learned is you want to find your why and define success the way you want it to be, and go after it. So defining success based on what you want is the most critical thing to being happy, and allowing some nice white space in your life to grow into. I think that's the way happiness will come.
Mm-hmm. And then what is the best book that you've read, and what was the number one thing you learned from that?
I guarantee you it's not one that I'd say no one on the call listening has heard. It's called Mach 2 with Your Hair on Fire. It's by a guy who's become a friend of mine over the years, because I took the book and really added, created the life I wanted to create as a result. So Mach 2 with Your Hair on Fire by Richard Brooke. And it's the subtitle is The Art of Self-Motivation and Personal Vision. And this is where I learned through that book about the idea of vision creating self-motivation.
And what's your favorite quote and why?
I decided to just pick a quote that I love quotes, but I read one on Thursday of last week. So I'm not going to say, even though the word favorite, you said that, but over every mountain, there is a path, although it may not be seen from the valley. And it was a poet by Theodore Roeke, I think is how you say his last name. But for me, it's a quote that brings hope and inspiration. And every day we just got to get out there and be the best person we can be, put our best foot forward, and climb the mountain, because on the other side of that mountain there's a path, and you may not know today what that path looks like, but if you get to the top of the mountain, you may see it tomorrow. So every day you got to get up and do your best.
Yes, dude, thanks so much for coming on. The last one I got for you, where can our listeners best find you online?
Yeah, my website, chrisspurvey.com. You'll see the link to my book, which it's called It's Time to Sell, Cultivating the Sales Mindset. So chrisspurvey.com. And LinkedIn is primarily the social network that I hang out on. So just search up my name on that and you'll be sure to find me.
Perfect. Thanks again for coming on.
Oh, you're welcome. It was a pleasure.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.